Hey guys, it is Chris Jones and
Chris Nash.
And we are in episode 92 of Ask Me and Chris Anything. In this episode, I had promised you guys in a previous episode, we talked a lot about attitude and the importance of thinking big. And I promised you that we would come back, I would invite Chris back onto the show, and we would chat about that other 15%. And, you know, in honestly, knowing each other for as long as we did, one of the things we probably admire about each other, I would think, stop me if I'm wrong, but is that we're doers. We might get on these videos and talk about how to do things, but we actually freaking do things. And at the end of the day, there's one saying that is in the book by Chet Holmes, Ultimate Sales Machine. It's called PhD. PhD stands for Pigheaded Discipline and Determination. Let me translate that for you guys. Let me say it first. Pigheaded Discipline and Determination. Let me translate it. It's freaking hard work. And what it really is to take a lot of the stuff that we chatted about Chet Holmes, right, the planning, the procedures, and the policies, and actually implementing it consistently over time. So
I think that the other connection of that, it's hard work applied consistently and with a no give up attitude, and with the belief that you're ultimately going to get your result. I mean, listen, you can bang your head against the door, and I'm not saying you should keep on trying to go through that door if it's never going to be shut. But the idea is you'll look for a window, you'll look for another door, you'll keep going and going and going. I think that if you look at sort of the idea behind long distance runners, one of the reasons that people really appreciate that mentality for people who can consistently run to the point after their body starts hurting, when they feel like they want to give up. Yeah. The idea behind having the perseverance to keep going and the belief that you're going to get to the end of the race is partly what we're talking about here. It's that determination, it's that discipline to know that you're going to make you're going to pick up the call or pick up the phone and make that next sales call because you know that there's a failure rate connected to it. And you start to believe in that. That's, I think, what we're talking about here.
People, for whatever the reason, it's the human condition, tend to give up, slow down, quit right as victory is near. It's weird, but it's the human condition. Right before you hit that finish line, something comes into your head.
That's when it gets the hardest. I mean, that's part of it. The difficulty builds over time, so people are dropping off as they get through the process. Now, when you know when the end is coming, like for example, if you're doing a marathon, there's this great statistic about people who make it halfway. The vast majority end up finishing the race once they get to the halfway point, because now you're actually approaching the end of the race with every step you take. There's that thinking, but when you don't know where the end is, people give up all throughout the process.
Let's chat about max bench and this idea of what is max bench and why is it? It's because it's in the fitness space. It's a company you've invested in. You're a partner there. What is it? Because I think we could apply it to this.
Oh, for sure. Max Bench started with a product where in weightlifting, when you're lifting and you're trying to either get that next rep out on a bench press or you're trying to actually lift a lot of weight. Well, you know that you need a spotter for the most part in that kind of exercise. And the reason you want a spotter is because you're always trying to get that last rep in.
Yeah.
And if you don't go for that last rep, you're not working your muscle to the point where it's going to grow. So we have a product that when you get down and the bar gets stuck, you press a foot pedal and the bench actually drops out, and you're basically rescued from the weight. So there's no harm.
But it allows you to push yourself safely as hard as possible
for that last rep.
To gain that last bit. And by the way, that's where the muscle, the endurance, the strength is being earned. It's not in the first 8 reps that you were like, oh, I can do 128 times, but I'm pinned. It's in that last pin.
For sure.
As far as you could get it up, that you're going to come back to the bench in the future and be able to get an additional rep. Isn't that applicable to business, to personal life? There are things that having pig-headed determination and discipline. It's funny, like the acronym PhD has become, even back when you were with Refer Local, we've had so much fun with this acronym.
For sure.
Because you could apply it to so many areas of your life. Kris and I have applied it to business for years together. But, follow up, right? So with sales, a lot of industry insights and statistics say that most business is lost in inadequate follow-up.
For sure.
Yet, all a business owner or a sales individual need to do is need to think not about winning the deal in the first or second interaction with someone, but it's in the 7th or the 10th follow-up. When closing a deal isn't about just selling something, it's about educating, it's about informing, it's about building rapport, it's about connecting, it's about, Chet Holmes, it's brilliant. It's right at the end of the book, and he says his ultimate goal with this idea that how important follow-up is that with every one of his clients, he thinks that getting the client to actually come to your home and eat dinner or going on a vacation with the client. Try to scale that if you have 100 clients. But Chet's attitude around PhD is that you have to be so disciplined in your follow-up. You need to build the relationship so strongly. You need to serve your client so intimately and with so much intensity, with so much discipline, that the end goal is to actually build such a friendship and relationship with a client that they're like hanging out at your house.
He has examples where he's literally reached out 600 times before he got in the door with certain clients.
Let me tell
it's insane.
Let me share real quick. I don't know if I've ever shared this in an AMA. You love this story.
I do. I know which one you're going to tell.
I'll try to do this in 30 seconds. So you guys know that the whole Pepper Jam company started with the gourmet food my grandmother made for my brother, my sister, myself, and other family members and friends when we were kids, right? She called it Mississippi Mud. Anyway, my brother Rick got the idea to bottle this product up. I was the guy back in the 90s that was saying the internet was going to change the world. He said, well, let's sell it online. I said, that's a great idea, because at that time I wasn't an entrepreneur and I was in debt, $60-some thousand. I was freaking determined, but now I had an opportunity. So we bottle up the product. We go to the fancy food show in New York City. We meet a celebrity chef named Chef Jorge Bruce, who had at that time been representing products on QVC, like the home shopping channel, right? And fast forward, we got Chef Jorge to endorse our product. We got him to make the proper introductions to QVC. Here's the problem. You guys know how hard it is to get your product accepted on QVC. But I felt like we were closer than pretty much anybody. So there was a product specialist that I had her contact information. I had her phone number. I had her email address. And Chef Jorge said it was kind of up to us to get her to say, yes, you're going on TV. I tell this story of, at that time, it was 1999, 2000, 2001, when I was in law school. I was working on Capitol Hill. And I would literally every single day walk between buildings from like one committee meeting to the next. And I would call this product specialist. I'd be like, hey, Tammy, it's Kris. It's a Friday. I'm hoping you have a phenomenal weekend. Look forward to hearing how great your weekend was on Monday. I reached out over 100 times until, guess what? My phone, and I'm not kidding, I'm not exaggerating. I mean, that's a big number, but I had reached out over a prolonged period, 4 or 5 months, until she called me and she said, Chef Bob Bowersox wants to put Grandma Jones's Pepper Jam, we renamed it from Mississippi Mud to Pepper Jam, on QVC. My friends, that is pig-headed discipline and determination.
You mentioned Max Bench, and my partners in that company definitely share this mentality. When we were trying to penetrate the large fitness manufacturers, we drove our product out to Chicago to their doorstep and then called them and said, hey, we're in your neighborhood, and got our butts in there to showcase the product. That's what we're talking about here.
I love it.
It took like 20 tries just to even open the door there, just to start the conversation, and we're still fighting those battles. But part of that is just the idea that you have to believe that you'll ultimately get in there. And Chet has this, I think he talks about the process where you reach out a few times and most people drop right out of the gate. They make one phone call, they get a no, they hang up the phone. But the idea is you reach out a few more times, now you become familiar to the person you're trying to make contact with. You reach out a few more times, now they start to develop a relationship with you, even if they're not responding. They know who you are.
Yeah.
Then you reach out a few more times. Now they feel guilty that you've attacked them that many times. Yeah. And then you reach out again, and they finally grant you some opportunity at that point. So you have to go through all those stages and know that they're going to happen. It is going to happen. He's had lists that he's gone after where he's gotten every single person on his list of 200 to use his service or product.
How do you think about and how do you address the fear of failure within this idea of being pig-headed and determined?
Well, what you do is you start to celebrate it because you know that a certain quantity of failures ends up turning into a success. Yeah. It's just an equation. I know.
Does no mean no?
Of course not.
Okay.
Of course not. No, you celebrate the no. When you get the no, you know it only takes a certain number of no's to get to a yes. So you check it off. There is one no. I know it's at least 8. On average, it takes at least 7 reach outs before I get a yes in this particular. So okay, well, there's the first 6. I know it's 2 more strategic reach outs, then I'm gonna get a yes, or I'm gonna get a hey, at least I'm willing to get on the phone with you to hear about your product or service. Yeah. So you just have to understand that that's a part of it, and start. You can even make a game of it. Yeah. You know, and basically
we've done over the years.
Outline your first 10 reach outs because you know it takes that long, and that's just it. You just have to have the belief that in the end you're gonna get it. Yeah. I mean, obviously you have to have a process, but that's all part of the PPP, the planning, the procedures, and the policy. You have to plan it out. You have to plan your method of attack, and then go after with some kind of process. But then do it consistently and do it over and over and over, and you will eventually get it. That's what PhD is all about.
So guys, I am like super thrilled as I'm listening to Kris here that this came towards the end of my AMA series, because all of the stuff that I've shared with you up to this point, a lot of it's theoretical, a lot of it sounds real good, but unless you guys are willing to do the work and to do it with sort of an unreasonable, relentless pursuit of achievement, you probably won't achieve the results you want. I am here to tell you, Kris is here to tell you, that you've got to approach whatever it is that you want with determination and a pig-headed discipline that you may have never deployed in your life. It's required. It's not an option. Success comes to those who outwork the competition. And the reality is that at the end of the day, we all have the capacity to be as successful as we want. And that's what we hope for you. We'll see you guys in a future AMA. Peace.